product quality, the actual quality of the service, etc., the main reason customers come back and do business with you is because of the customer experience. And that's the only reason they actually keep interested in the brand, right? How good is that customer experience? So we're going to talk about, like I said, that connection or that intersection between data and customer experience. And there's a number of statistics, information, pieces of data, again, et cetera, that talk to how important delivering a customer experience is. And it's all connected to increase in sales, increase in ROI, increase in this, increase in that, et cetera. But I'm going to highlight 3 in particular that connect again back to data. So 90% of global executives who use data analytics report that they improve their ability to deliver a great customer experience. So there's that connection again. 65% of companies say improving their data analysis is very important to delivering a better customer experience. So again, that connection. And one I'm going to highlight just to stay on a tangent to address people in general is the companies with initiatives to improve customer experience also see employee engagement increase by 20%. So it's quite a little bit of a different angle to customer experience and the impact it actually has as well. So what's your experience like? So think of your brands, think of the brands that you engage with, and what is your experience like? And let's have a look at this one. Sorry, volume. Okay, I lost control of this and I lost my volume. Okay. Excuse me, can I get volume on the...
Target's been neutralized. I'm heading to the hotel. Checking into the penthouse. The name's Hunter.
Certainly, Mr. Hunter. I have your reservation right here.
Wait, did you say Hunter?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't have a Hunter.
But you emailed the confirmation to my watch.
Well, marketing handles emails. Oh, I have a Hanson.
No, it's Hunter. I picked my room on your app.
Oh, we have so many apps over there.
But I'm a platinum member. I even have a promotion from your website.
Promotions are on a different system, but I do have a single on the ground floor, Mr. Hanson.
It's Hunter. My name is Hunter.
So it resonates maybe with some brands, maybe it resonates with lots of brands. Just to disclaimer, I don't work for Adobe, I don't sell Adobe, has nothing to do with, I don't have anything to do with it. Well, they're my partner, among others, but they just make good content. So I'm just referencing them just for the good quality content. So how do we actually deliver better experiences than what this gentleman had here? For us, it falls into 2 very obvious sort of statements. One is about making consumers more valuable to the brand. And then the flip side of that, making a brand more valuable to the consumer. How do you actually create that marriage? And that's important because given where we are today, the customer has more power than ever to decide when and how and where they want to do business with you. And it's about them, not about the brand. So you've got to sort of lean in and accept that and deliver to what they're interested in. And this is the reality of the situation, right? Consumers are not created equal. They are unique individuals. They have individual habits, interests, things that are important to them, etc., And hence, the more relevant the brand experience to each and every individual consumer, the more likely you are to get a share of their interest, of their wallets, of their time, of their social interactions, etc., So what this really means is that brands need to matter to the individual consumer. We can't just talk a one-size-fits-all type of thing. And brands need to really think about growth across what we call the personalization maturity curve. From mass marketing, no personalization, one-size-fits-all, we're telling everybody the same things even though they are different customers with different needs and so on. To segment or rule-based, so we can segment our customers into males, females, certain age groups, etc. To much more customer behavioral patterns and experimenting with those, and eventually to much more predictive personalization. So you're almost telling a customer what they want before they tell you or before they realize even that they want it in some capacity. And most brands, as far as I'm concerned, tend to sit in these first two buckets. And it really is a maturity, again, curve. And you can't walk before you can crawl. You can't run before you can crawl and walk. So, going on the journey is inevitable, but you got to go on the journey altogether, right? And why? Because whether we like it or not, there are new rules. So we've moved from an age of what I'd like to call media scarcity and attention abundance. So that we had a lot of time to focus on a very few number of channels, to the complete opposite of media abundance and attention scarcity. So the only things that get my attention are the things that are actually relevant to me, because I'm seeing way too much of stuff all over the place in so many different channels and so on and so forth. And there's always something with the clickers, isn't there? Come on. There we go. And post-pandemic, things have even changed more. So this whole thing about attention and media abundance and so on has always been valid. But post-pandemic, it's become even bigger and more important and more recognizable, and people are acting upon it more and so on and so forth. So there's 4 dynamics that we believe are impacting the world or affecting the world when it comes to a sort of a post-pandemic world. Pace, place, purpose, and privacy. Well, what do we really mean? Place is about where conversations happens and how many of them sort of happen at the same time. Pace is also about how many happen, but where do conversations happen? And also it's about not being limited by an offline channel anymore. Even email and SMS are being thought of now as an offline channel. Offline in the context of they have to wait for the customer to actually interact with them, as opposed to being a lot more real time. So that's an issue, let's call it that, or dynamic at the moment. Pace. Pace is about the number of touch points and the number of channels available out there. And research shows that the path to purchase can range from 20 touch points if you're buying a candy bar to 500 if you're buying a flight, between airlines, comparison sites, this, that, et cetera, et cetera. 90% of consumers expect their interactions to be consistent across the channels. So if I bounce from your website to your app, to your call center, to this, to that, you really need to know where I am on the journey, what I'm doing, and what I'm trying to achieve. And near time is really not becoming enough anymore. It's got to be a lot more real time. So even, as close as you can get to real time as possible is almost becoming a little bit of a problem for some customers. They want much more real time interactions. Purpose is about this emotional connection that a brand needs to create with customers. And why? Because that gives you more, again, attention from a customer if you drive that personal connection. You need to think beyond transactional relationships. And the brands really need to think about much more, how am I adding value to the consumer? Again, how do I be more valuable to the consumer as far as the consumer is concerned? And consumers do make faster associations between brands that have purpose and are driven by purpose rather than just functional and transactional attributes. And then finally, it's about privacy and data. And we've been talking about data obviously all day long. So the future is not just about collecting first-party data, but how it's leveraged. So again, this session is called Operationalizing your data, as I like to call it. Customers don't just want to be known, they want to be respected and valued. So it's not just about telling me, welcome back, Mr. X, or what have you. So what are you telling me that's relevant to me, and how do you respect that relationship? So what do we conclude from this? It's time to move beyond the inbox. So CRM and its old guys and stuff like that can no longer be just about email, or customer relationship management can't be just about email and SMS and so on and so forth. Brands need to orchestrate personal engagement interactions. So personalization maturity, data, all of that sort of stuff that we said. And we need to be a lot more real time. We need to be across all the channels that customers deal with. We can't start a new conversation with the customer every time they shift from one channel to another, or one touch point to another. Purpose creates a strong, enduring mental connection and an emotional connection actually as well. And the customer needs to be not just known, but also respected and valued. So this is an era where we enter into what we like to call relationship design, as opposed to the old sort of CRM model. This is a time where consumers don't want to be managed anymore. They want to actually be part of that relationship design, as we call it, and want to feel like they are contributors to how that relationship is built together to achieve what they want at an individual level. You can't manage a customer really anymore. And relationships are designed across these 4 attributes. You want to think brand. What is the brand experience that the customer is getting? What do we know about the customer? What sort of behavioral insights can we drive to really deliver something for our customers? What role does technology play in all of this to enable it to happen? And how does it drive business value at the end of the day? Those 4 together deliver relationships. So all of this is orchestrated through data. There's no surprise. And the end game or the essence is that this is what we're trying to do. We're constantly trying to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time, on the right device, on the right channel, across every single step of the relationship or the journey. This is not just about once they become a customer. This is about customer acquisition actually as well. So it's everything from awareness all the way to retention. And the essence is we're trying to create exceptional experiences and we're trying to create emotional connections, because experience fuel business growth and emotional connections bring them to life, and brands that actually deliver emotional connections grow profit and revenue. So they grow revenue 2.5 times faster, they grow profit 2 times faster. That emotional connection has a value and has a very serious value. We can skip this just in the interest of time. We've sort of covered that already. And okay, so how do we build unique brand experiences? It starts again from, the brand experience starts from the first interaction, from acquiring customers, not just from, again, winning customers and managing relationships over time. So do you spray and pray, if the expression is familiar, but let's see what this guy says and put pray and pray into context. I need volume on the slides, please.
When it comes to communication,
Thank you.
this is the first time in history where at scale you can really have a one-to-one communication, two-way street with a consumer. The old model of what I call push advertising, where you develop a product and content, you then try to select media that roughly hit that consumer, and then you hope the message arrives and that consumer will act in a certain way. That model is fading fast. What you can do these days, once you have a consumer's phone number or email address, you can really target specifically to the needs of that person. You can have, at scale, in an automated yet personal way, a conversation, and you have a much, much better hit rate than any time before. And so this is a huge opportunity. We're deeply committed to making the most of this.
So that's what we mean by spray and pray, right? It's like, push out your media, obviously with some targeting, cross your fingers, hope for the best. What's interesting here is Mark Schneider is actually talking at an investor relations event. He's not talking to marketers. He's not talking to salespeople. He's not talking to product. He's talking to people that go out and advise other people on buying stock in the company. And he's saying, we're committed to this because it helps our business grow. We're committed to this because it makes us more efficient in our spend, in our media spend. And all of that is driving value to the company, making the stock price increase, and hence win more business, grow the company, et cetera, et cetera. And that's become an expectation for customers as well. This whole notion of, let me just tell everybody everything is no longer valid. All of these brands on the screen are giving us certain experiences and are delivering certain experiences in certain ways that are now becoming a minimum expectation. Uber has set the expectation that an experience can be seamless. Netflix has set the expectation that I can watch content whenever I want it, wherever I want it. Amazon has set the expectation on personalization and knowing what customers want before they even say it. Spotify on music discovering you rather than the other way around, and so on and so forth. And that expectation becomes a minimum expectation across the board. So what this lady here is saying is that the best last experience that you have actually becomes the minimum expectation for the experience you have anywhere. So you want your brands to behave like the better brands out there. Customers are not just comparing, if you're a telco, they're not comparing you to the next telco, they're comparing you to an airline, to a bank, to whatever it is that's giving them a great experience. And here's more proof. Data from BCG tells us, or from the BCG Retail Banking Advisory Survey tells us, and apologies, this has switched into Arabic, but this is about banking. So customers are saying, I want my bank to be more like Amazon, like a personal shopper, like a supermarket, because that's what the experience is that they're seeking. They're not just seeking a banking experience, full stop. And speaking of banks, if there are any bankers in the room, I'm not picking on them in particular, but let's look at this.
Let's do this! Everybody on the ground, this is a robbery! Don't move! Hey! Get down and stay down! Don't move! The money! Money! Open the vault!
Mr. Johnson? Eric Johnson?
How does she know your name? I don't know.
Your mobile app pinged us when you walked in. Looks like you were on our website and thinking about buying a house.
You moving out, man? I need my space.
Eric, you may think you can't afford a new home, but we have some amazing new rates. I could text them to you.
Oh, those are fantastic.
And Mr. Davis,
Yeah, it's me.
did you click on one of our emails about consolidating your student loans?
Maybe. Tim! What's the matter with you?
Oh, well, we can help you with that too.
Hey, what are you doing? This is a robbery, remember? We gotta go! We gotta go! Come on! Can I lock those rates in on the app?
Well, of course you can, sugar.
Oh, great.
I really don't work for Adobe. They just really do very good content. So that's what's happening, right? So I'm very conscious of time, so I'm going to go quickly. So how do we operationalize data? So we think of data across three big buckets, as I like to call them, or that 3P model. Prioritization, personalization, and precision is about figuring out who you're talking to, how and what you need to tell them, how you're going to say it, and when and where you need to deliver that message. So how do we do this for Accor? Not picking, if there's anybody from Accor here, not picking on them, this is a good example. So Accor came to us and said, customers are typically loyal to us. They travel very often on business or what have you. Every time, let's take London as an example, every time our customer goes to London, he stays at a particular hotel because it's close to his office or what have you. What the problem was is that when they don't find that hotel available, they jump to the next available hotel, which might not be an Accor hotel. So they lose value, they lose loyalty, they use this, they use that. And they said, we realized the answer is in personalizing communications to customers to tell them how to find the right hotel for them if they don't find the one that they're usually staying at, but we don't think we have data. And we said, what are you talking about? You guys know how often people travel, where they travel to, what sorts of hotel they stay are, expensive, mid-range, cheap. Do they consume minibar or not? Do they eat at the hotel or not? Do they go to the bar? Do they go to the gym? Do they go, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You've got to be able to personalize. So what we did, just skipping in the interest of time, is we triggered to everybody who traveled a welcome back home email after they travel, telling them the next time you're in London or the next time wherever you are, if you don't find your hotel, here are 3 other hotels that are relevant to you. How are they relevant? They're relevant in terms of price, in terms of location, in terms of what they can gain back from our earn and burn opportunity from rewards depending on their tier level. And we generated hundreds of variants of that email on the basis of the data triggers. So if you were in London versus if you were in New York versus if you're a silver tier member, gold tier member, the content changed dynamically to generate multiple variants of that. We did the same thing for Starbucks. Starbucks, typically people are very loyal. They keep on collecting points. They don't do anything with those points is what Starbucks basically told us. So we said, okay, we can generate comms based on consumption habits, time of day, all of that, again, personalized content that we can find around how people engage with Starbucks. And we started generating comms that talk to people about drinks that they might be interested in, sandwiches that they might be interested in, salads, and so on and so forth. On what basis? On the basis of what we know of their history, of the content, of the products that they consume from Starbucks, and again generated hundreds of variants of that. Both of these are emails, but this could be an email, it could be a social post, it could be an SMS, a WhatsApp message, a page on your website, it could be any touch point that you want it to be. And quite a bit of impact, but I'll go to this one right away. In the interest of NDAs, sorry, I can't disclose the client, but this is a very well-known retail brand in the region. We're working across the entire customer experience and redevelopment of the customer experience strategy for the brand. So this is online, offline, call center, delivery, fulfillment, installation, whatever the whole 9 yards of the customer experience is something that we're looking at. In the middle of that challenge, the client came to us and said, we want to see proof that this works. We want to see proof that when you send personalized emails to people or messages to people saying, if you bought this item, you might be interested in that item, and that would increase our sales and so on and so forth. And we said, we can certainly do that. Don't worry about the fine print, but what we did is we went through a very algorithmic process of telling them, how are we going to generate that comms? What data do we need? What sort of information do we need about the previous purchase history, basket value, location of purchase, online or offline, all of that sort of stuff. and what sort of process we're going to go through. If I send you an email and you don't act upon it, what happens next in an automated fashion? You get another email or you get a social post directed at you, personalized again. The products that are being pushed to you are all personalized based on your purchase habits before, etc., etc. And we generated some phenomenal results. So we got 40% increase in email rates, 430% increase in click rates and 230 in conversion rates. But look, the two bottom numbers are obviously where the highlights are. We spent 65,000 dirhams in paid media and generated sales of over 8 million by being that personalized in that capacity. So we're talking here, including my fees or the agency fees, we're talking a return on investment of about 30 times or so, something within that space. So there's so much to win and nothing to lose. There's enough data out there that demonstrates that personalization, data, automation, all that shebang that we just talked about actually generates results and adds impact. And two final thoughts. This gentleman here talks to how those companies that sort of have missed the opportunity, have missed the digital opportunity, have wiped off the Fortune 500. When he talks about digital, and the way he says it, he's basically talking about failure to adapt into or lean into or go into the whole world of transformation and how data has changed things for people. And last but not least is one last thought. Oops, there we go. Again, back to customer experience. 80%, 89% of companies are now competing on the basis of customer experience. But the problem is 80% of them think they're doing well, but only 8% of customers agree. So go back to the first video with our Adobe gentleman in the hotel. That was pretty much a disaster. No disrespect to whichever hotel it was. Thank you very, very much. If there are any questions, I know I'm over time. I apologize. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them now or I'll be around. Thank you very much. Sorry? The clicker? Oh, okay, yeah. Thank you, sure. Well, it seems I'm waiting for a photographer, so if anybody has any questions, do shoot. No. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much.